Hello and welcome. This is a tutorial on how to spot misinformation provided by the Red Rocks Community College Library. In this tutorial, we'll learn tips and tricks on how to spot misinformation, fake news, and more on the web. Before we jump into how to spot misinformation, we need to go over certain definitions. The first one is fake news. Fake news is false information that is broadcasted or published as news for fraudulent or politically motivated purposes. Misinformation is a little bit different. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information, especially that which is deliberately intended to deceive. So misinformation may be a true news story with inaccurate information in it. Highly partisan news is a type of misleading news that may be interpreted as real news with facts, but the facts are actually manipulated to fit a specific agenda. And information literacy. Information literacy is a set of integrated abilities encompassing the reflective discovery of information, the understanding of how information is produced and valued, and the use of information in creating new knowledge and participating ethically in communities of learning. So that's a long-winded way to say that information literacy is a way to be literate in information, whether it's information on the web, in books, being able to evaluate information, and being able to decipher truth from falsehood. Here are 4 tips to spotting misinformation. The first one is vetting the author or publisher's credibility. The first thing you want to look at when you're looking at a website is looking at the end of the domain, such as .com, .gov, .edu. These are all the best domains to get your information from. But be wary of some of these. If you see one such as .com.co at the end with a website that says ABC News at the beginning, well, ABC News may appear to be credible, but pay attention because if it says abcnews.com.co, that is much different and can be an illegitimate website, just designed to appear similar to the original. You also want to know the publication's point of view and who the author is. Read up on the About section on the website to get more insight on the publisher and the mission statement. Also, this will help you confirm to make sure you haven't stumbled upon satirical news sites such as The Onion. So looking at the author, what else have they published? If they've published over other things on the same topic, have their career within the same discipline of the topic of information, it would be safe to say that the author has the authority to write on what is being published. The second tip is to notice the quality of the publication and also look at how long ago it was published. So pay attention to any spelling errors or if anything's in all caps or if there's any dramatic punctuation. If so, abort your reading mission. This can be made from a website that was quickly made and information used from non-reputable sources or user-generated content. Reputable sources have high proofreading standards. Also be aware if the content seems biased or is filled with emotional statements and not facts. Is this information current or recycled? Make sure an older story or photo isn't taken out of context. Because information changes so rapidly, sometimes stuff that was published a year ago or even a week ago isn't current information. The third tip is to check the sources and citations. How exactly did you find this article? If the content showed up in a social media feed or is being promoted on a website that's known for clickbait, you can proceed with caution. Even if the information was shared by a friend, be sure to follow the steps above and below to ensure the publisher's credibility. You also want to look at who is and who is not quoted and what do they say. If you notice a glaring lack of quotes and contributing sources, particularly on a complex issue, then something is amiss. Credible journalism is fed by fact gathering, so a lack of research likely means a lack of fact-based information. And is this information available on other sites? If not, it's very, very likely that the information is just not true. Library databases are a great resource for confirming the credibility of information. And the fourth tip, ask the professionals. Have you visited a librarian or used a fact-checking website? There are many good fact-checking websites such as Snopes.com, Fact.org, PolitiFact, and much more, and we will provide a full list at the end of this tutorial. You could also ask a librarian. Librarians are information professionals and are trained to decipher fake news. Lastly, use these 4 tips and tricks and you can do your own detective work and feel more confident in being able to identify fact versus fiction versus misinformation. Now, to piggyback off what we just discussed, here are the information literacy skills we will be going over the rest of this tutorial. We'll go over the 4 moves, which are checking for previous work, going upstream from the source, reading laterally, and then circling back. The second set of skills will be click restraint. Then, being able to identify user-generated content versus professional content. We'll also provide skills on finding the original source, and that we can do this by reverse image searching and then looking through geolocation. And lastly, we'll talk about using fact-checking websites. Now, the 4 moves are going to be the main skills, and then everything else are going to be tips and tricks on how to elaborate on those 4 moves. Let's discuss the 4 moves. The 4 moves are an easy way to remember how to quickly fact-check. The first one is checking for previous work. This can mean several things, such as looking around to see if someone else has already fact-checked the claim or have provided a synthesis of research. Check the author or publisher of work to see if they have the authority or qualifications to write on this topic. The second of the 4 moves is going upstream from the source. Most web content is not original content, but generally are just summarizations of the original content. Get to the original source to understand the truthworthiness of the information. In an academic setting, this would be done by checking a work cited or a reference page that has a list of citations of the original work. In an online setting, this is possible sometimes through the links within an article, but sometimes you gotta research the original source in Google or Google Scholar. The third of the 4 moves is reading laterally. Once you get to the source of a claim, read what other people are saying about the source. This can happen simply by opening up a new tab in your web browser and doing a quick Google search on a specific claim. What this does is to see what else has been written on this topic and anything that would back it up. This also can shed light on whether the claim is false or has been disputed by fact-checking websites online. And lastly, circling back. If you feel unsure, repeat any of the 3 steps above in any particular order. You're more likely to take an informed path with different search terms and better decisions. These tips and tricks we're about to discuss are skills you should use while performing the 4 moves. This ensures the information you are looking at is true, false, or misleading. First, here's a tip when you are using one of the 4 moves reading laterally. The easiest way to do this is to hit Ctrl-T on your keyboard. Ctrl-T, also known as Ctrl-Tab, is simply opening up a new tab on your web browser and doing a quick Google search on a specific claim. What this does is to see if anyone has written on this claim that would back it up. This can also shed light on whether the claim is false or is being disputed by a fact-checking website online. The second tip is click restraint. Instead of immediately clicking on the first thing they see, fact-checkers restrain themselves. They often scan out their options first within the Google result list and then make an informed decision on which websites to visit first. This is very important because more clicks on a website equals more visits to a website. The more visits a website has, the more relevant the site can seem, which makes it higher on the search results list. And it can show up more often even if the information is bad, misleading, or just incorrect. It is also extremely important to understand what type of content you are looking at when you're online. You want to understand the intentions of the content. Is it informative? Is it trying to make the reader purchase something or persuade the reader of something? The first type of content is user-generated content. This is any form of content such as images, videos, text, and audio that has been posted by users on online platforms. This content can have various types of intentions. This is usually stuff such as social media, Reddit, and other platforms. The second type of content is professional content. This is any form of content such as images, videos, text, and audio posted in a professional setting. This information goes through rigorous planning, research, and is proofread before posted. Professional content tends to be informative, or they will clearly state their intentions. The third type of content is standards-based content. This is any information presented as unbiased and does not tell the reader what to believe, but simply provides the facts and allows the reader to make an opinion. Good journalism should always do this. And the last type of content is sponsored content. This is any material online that resembles the publication's editorial content but is actually paid for by a third party and is intended to promote the advertiser's product. So when you're looking at this type of content, you want to see if there's any mentions of paid or sponsored in this article. You want to see who authored the story, and are there any links back to the company site. The next step we'll talk about is finding the original source. When coming across information in any setting, whether it's on the internet, in a book, magazine, or on the news, it's important to know where that information originated from. Going to the original source can get you a better understanding of the context of the information, along with basic information on how to critically evaluate it. For example, when you write an academic paper, chances are you have to cite your sources to ensure that your claims are valid. This information is usually provided on a reference or a works cited page. On web pages, many articles cite their sources by creating links within the text that will take the reader back to the original source or to another source that backs up the claim. This is why it's important to understand the differences between primary and secondary sources, as they are both used to cite information. A primary source is immediate first-hand accounts of a topic from people who have direct connection to it. These sources can include texts of law, newspaper reports, anything by a reporter who have witnessed an event or quote people who did, speeches, diary entries, letters, original research, data sets, survey data, photographs, video, and audio. A secondary source is a source that is one step removed from primary sources. They often quote or otherwise use primary sources. Secondary sources can include books about a topic, any analysis or interpretation of data, scholarly and other articles on a topic, and documentaries. Now let's discuss ways to find original resource on the webs with images. The two ways to do this are reverse image search and geolocation. Reverse image searching with Google is a great way to find the original source of a photo. Reverse image searching is searching for a photo within other contexts of different websites. This can be helpful finding the original source even if the photo has been altered or photoshopped in some way. In an era of Photoshop, deepfakes, and augmented reality filters, think Instagram or Snapchat, you can't always believe what you see. This can be extremely helpful to find a photo seen on the internet that is being used in the correct context. For example, sometimes user-generated content will recycle older images from another situation and use them to represent a current situation. Now I'm going to show you an example of using the reverse image search on Google Images. And what we have to do first is go to images.google.com, and it'll bring you to this website. So this is the image that I want to look to see if this is correct information or if it's edited, because it looks sort of edited to me, but I'm not quite sure. So here is how to reverse image search. Once you're on images.google.com, on the search bar, you will see a little photo icon. You'll want to go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring you to this. Now the easiest way is to go to the next tab that says upload an image, but if you know how to get the image URL, you're more than welcome to search by it here. But we're going to go to upload an image, and what we're going to do is go to choose file, and we're going to find the photo on our desktop and upload it to Google. And once we do, this is what the search bar looks like. So it shows you all the instances where it thinks it's finding the image, and you can see the first one, that's the image that we uploaded. So we're going to scroll down a little bit, and then you'll see right here where it says Make America White Again. I can see the image, so I'm going to click on that. And then this is the article that I clicked on. So we can see this is an article from Snopes.com that has the image that I searched for. I'm going to scroll down on this page a little bit, and I'm going to read right here. This explains why this image is real or not. So actually, as you can see, it was edited. The original photo, the women's shirts say Make America Great Again, not white again. So that one was definitely photoshopped. And the reason why this website explains like this is because Snopes.com is actually a fact-checking website. So we were able to upload a photo that we thought was maybe altered or faked, and we were able to debunk it that it actually was. So this is the original photo, and that is how you use reverse Google search to find the original source of a photo. Another great way to double-check user-generated content is to see if they've correctly represented a current situation by using geolocation. Geolocation is a process of identifying accurate geographic coordinations of a person or an electronic device. Through geolocation, a user can learn about the coordinates of important events in the news from photos seen on articles, social media, forums, and other websites. This can be used when some photos or videos have telling background information, such as street signs, store signs, unique buildings or landmarks, and much more. Using background context clues can help decipher whether the photo is being used is making a claim that's correct or is false. So I'm going to provide another example of how to use this tip on trying to find the original source of a photo. So the first thing you're going to do to use geolocation skills is to go to maps.google.com, and it should bring you to something that looks like this. The photo I have in mind is going to be this one right here. I just found it on the internet and it says it's in Paris, so I'm going to use geolocation to see if that claim's correct or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at some location context clues in the background. So I see a sign that has numbers and letters. It has some words that definitely look like English, but they're definitely not. And that sign of the restaurant is very telling. La Café Pierre. So what I'm going to do is actually search for that in maps.google.com. So I'm going to go to that website, type in La Café Pierre, and I'm going to look through the search results. So this is what I found. I found the La Café Pierre, so now I'm going to browse the street view images and see if it's the exact same one. So what you're going to do is grab this little guy right here and drag it to the landmark. So once I'm at the landmark, I'm going to let go and it's going to look like this. So as you can see, this is exactly the same place. You can tell by the building in the background, the signs that we saw. And then when you look, it does say that this is in Paris, France. So we've actually been able to verify that this cafe is in Paris, which is wonderful. Now let's relate this back to information literacy and what this has to do with the news. So I found this other image, and let's say theoretically that the article that it was with said that this was in Chicago. This was at a march in Chicago. Well, the easiest way to use geolocation to make sure would be to look up this sign, locate it, and then go to see exactly where it is in the world, whether it's in Chicago or another city, and then that would verify the claim that this was at a specific march somewhere in Chicago or maybe somewhere else. Lastly, we're going to talk about fact-checking websites. Fact-checking websites are websites that check factual information in order to determine the credibility and correctness of the statements in the text or online. Fact-checking websites use neutral wording, unbiased sources, and reliable links. And we actually have created a list of fact-checking websites for you guys to use. All Sides, FactCheck.org, Media Matters for America, Newsbusters, OpenSecrets.org, PolitiFact, ProPublica, Snopes, Sunlight Foundation, and the Fact Checker on the Washington Post. Now, along with that list, we actually created a tutorial or a research guide on everything that was talked about in today's tutorial about information literacy. And the way to get there is to go to rrcc.libguides.com/information-literacy, and it will look something like this. So if you notice the tabs on the top, the one that says the 4 moves, that is where you're going to find the list of websites all together, and you can find out which one that you like the best or use a few different ones and compare and contrast. But this actually explains what each one of them are, and it also gives direct links so you have them all in one place. And that was the tutorial on how to spot misinformation. For more information on the library and our services and resources, check us out at library.rrcc.edu.